trying to accomplish on the property, and what is waste for somebody else, which is a resource for you. So the patio in the upper left-hand corner that we built as one of our kind of social spaces on the property is called, we call it Urbanite, because it sounds like fancy. Like we have Urbanite patio. It's old cement. It's cement from someone's old garage. It was in the way. They wanted it taken up. They were breaking it to pieces, and they were going to landfill it. And we said, can we have it? And they said, sure. So we made a patio out of it with some pea stone. Our forest garden, our roadside forest garden, we were sheet mulching. And cardboard is something that you use to cover the grass, to suppress the grass and break down the root mat of grass. And cardboard is a real problem for a lot of people. Go to a UPS store, lots of cardboard to get rid of. They actually don't take the boxes that they receive and necessarily reuse them, actually recycle a lot of it. So you can find different places where some material is accumulating at such a rate that's becoming waste. It's becoming a problem. So the seventh principle is designing from patterns to details. We want to look at the big picture. We want to get an understanding of how things fit together. And a good example of this is from a place called Crystal Waters. This is a permaculture village built in 1985 in the eastern part of Australia. And it's a place that I've taken students a few times. And it's several hundred acres. And what they did, before they did anything on the site, was they stepped back and they looked at the entire bioregion, a really huge area. It'd be like deciding you're going to do something here in Smithfield and saying, well, I need to step back and look at southern New England and see how this spot in Smithfield fits in with southern New England. And then zoom in until you get to like your watershed, where the water from your site and other sites is headed to a specific river and headed for Narragansett Bay maybe. They did that kind of detail before they ever started zooming in to look at like what is wildlife, what's better, the best use is wildlife habitat, what's best use is houses or agriculture or things like that. We do a similar thing when we talk about forest gardens. So we've mentioned forest gardening a little bit, and you'll see some pictures and hear about a forest garden that you can go and see and touch and experience yourself here in Smithfield. You know, we look at the structure of what a forest looks like. What does a forest look like here in Smithfield versus a forest in Plymouth, New Hampshire, or a forest in Ohio? We may be trying to take advantage of what nature's already figured out is a really effective assembly of tall trees and shrubs and vines and ground cover. But we might want to swap out the species for species that we're interested in because we're interested in fruits or nuts or medicinals. The eighth principle is integration rather than segregation. So picture in a lot of neighborhoods, everybody has their own stuff, right? Like I have my own extension ladder and my own circular saw. And my neighbor has his own extension ladder, his own circular saw. And like you can picture everybody in the road has their own extension ladder and their own circular saw. So there's a lot of waste in that system. We've all paid for them. We're not all using them every day. We could have integrated our needs and met them more effectively. There are two communities. This is just for those of you that I was just talking about Crystal Waters, so you had a bit of a visual. This is the layout of Crystal Waters, the permaculture village, where the houses are clustered in pods on the appropriate sites. On the upper left-hand corner, it's probably small for those of you in the back, is a place called New Venusa. It's a co-housing development in Peterborough, New Hampshire. Last I checked, I think they have 2 units available on their website if you're interested in moving to New Hampshire. It's 25 or 26 units that are clustered together in a walkable village situation. They share a heating system. They share a farm system. They have a CSA on site. They hire a farmer to help run their CSA. They share farm animals. So like if you're interested in milking a cow, you become part of the cow milking cooperative, and you're like the Tuesday cow milker. You're not milking cows a couple times a day, 7 days a week. You can have vacation still. So there are a lot of things by integrating the needs of what you're looking for with other people that you can really build community and find solutions. And in permaculture, we call this multiple functions. So the structure on the left is a solar photovoltaic or solar electric panel system that needed a structure and provides storage for bicycles underneath. So this is in the United Kingdom. It provides protection from gray, rainy days for people who want to ride their bikes but don't want to have them always subjected to moisture. And this is in Australia, also bicycle storage, but it's like the crazy permaculture bicycle storage even more. It's got solar electric panel on top and a solar hot water system. It's got a vegetated swale out here that processes all the water from the shower inside. It's got lockers, lights, security camera. So you now don't have an excuse not to bike into town to go to work. Like you can bike into town, lock your bike, take a shower, and feel pretty guilt-free and walk over to work. So that's when we can really start to take these solutions pretty far. So the 9th principle is using small and slow solutions. When we have students do a permaculture course with us, they get so excited. It's like a religious experience. And then they do their design process, and they're looking at their property that they know really well, and they've been observing more than they ever thought they were. And they start finding all of these solutions and all these exciting opportunities, and they want to build it all tomorrow. Like, they literally want to go out and, like, as soon as the sun comes up, like, try to do everything, and will spontaneously combust, probably. So we talk about going slow and doing small things allows us the time to enjoy the other elements of life, but also to learn from what we're doing. You know, we have an intervention in the landscape, and we can step back and we can really see what's happening and see how it's going to work before we start adding lots of other stuff around it. And it makes sense financially. It makes sense in lots of different ways. So when you're thinking about this, don't feel like, oh my God, I got to go home and figure out all these solutions and get them done by Friday. Some things you can do small and slow. Another appropriate technology is a solar oven. Solar oven is a really elegant appliance. It's the only appliance I've ever bought that doesn't have to get plugged in. Although we bought a hand crank blender. So it's the second appliance I bought that doesn't get plugged in. But this is not the type of thing that you can use when you come home, as we all do, and it's like been a crazy day, and you're picking kids up, and you need a meal in 20 minutes. You don't turn to the solar oven. It's probably dark already. So this is a type of thing where you think ahead of time, oh, it'd be really nice to have a stew tomorrow, or to make a casserole, and I'm going to make it tonight or in the morning, and I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to give it 6 or 7 hours. Never burns, doesn't stick to the pan, really, really moist. It's wonderful. But you have to have the forethought to have that intervention. Another small, slow solution in permaculture systems, I told the students from Smithfield to try to get them to have realistic expectations, that when they're out doing it's internship time. Is that fair? Okay. When they're doing the internship time for the number of hours they're going to be doing at Monterey Gardens this spring, they're going to see trees, amazing resources that have been beautifully planted out that look small because they were planted last year. And they might go back next year, and the trees don't look a lot bigger because they're doing all this amazing work under the soil of expanding their roots and building relationships. And all of a sudden, they're just going to pop, and they're just going to be growing like crazy. And then there's going to be fruit hanging off them, and these guys will be running around trying to like harvest the fruit before all you show up. So small and slow solutions are important. There are certain perennial things that we may want to get established in the landscape. Like, I didn't wait to make sure I had a couple apple trees going, even though I haven't planted out the rest of what we call polyculture, like the way we actually marry a bunch of plants together so they build a relationship, build their own little ecosystem that's self-supporting. I got some of the ones that need time to get established started. These are kiwis, a cold, hardy kiwi. These are kiwis like their second year, maybe. They take like 70 years. Anyone here grow kiwis? You guys do, of course. You got kiwis? So did it take like 6 or 7 years to get kiwis? Or are you still waiting? 2.5. You said what?
I'm on year 2.5.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think maybe this spring on year 3 I'll take them out of the pot.
Well, there you go. And we may have had them a year earlier, but we had early spring, like we'll probably get this year, and then a normal frost, which just really whacked them back. But I can remember Ethan, my son, helped me plant these when he was like 4 years old. And he's a pretty smart kid, so he said, okay, we're planting these, we're not going to get kiwis this year. And I said, no, you're not going to get kiwis this year. We'll have kiwis next year? I said, no, you'll have kiwis like maybe 5th grade. And he's in the 5th grade, and he had kiwis this year, and he was really proud. He brought them to school. He had kids taste the kiwis. They're small. They're like the size of your thumb. They're like a grape, and you just eat them whole, and they make great wine.